G'day and welcome back to the Not So Weekly news from RC Model Reviews. Is my microphone on? Yes it is. Always forget. Never mind. Yeah, I'm back. Another Not So Weekly news edition. And what have I got on my list of things? It's summertime. I forgot. God, it's easy to forget. It's raining and blowing still. But at least the rain is warmer and the wind is warmer, which makes it easier to stand out there and get soaked and blown around when you're trying to wait for a break in the weather for flying. But anyway, summer means t-shirts. Here we go. Send me the t-shirt. I will wear it. This one's from X-Hover. They make the MXP 230. You've all seen it before. I'll tell you a bit more about this one in a moment. But miniquads, I can hear people grumbling. Whoa, I've seen a miniquad on RC Model Reviews. We don't like that. So, especially for the people who hate miniquads and want me to go back to the roots of model flying, which is fixed wing, I present you with this. The HobbyKing Skipper. It's an all-terrain airplane. Who'd have thought? Yes, apparently this is an all-terrain plane, so I should be able to fly it from muddy tracks, wooded glens, mountains, precipices, cliffs, valleys, anything like that, although they do actually only say snow, ice, grass and water. Now, I'm going to be reviewing this, as you would expect, and because it flies from water, or can fly from water, I've got more opportunities open to me in terms of flying places. So hopefully I can find a nice legal place to test fly this and bring you a full review of how to put it together, or how it goes together, how it flies, and anything else I find that you might need to know about. Anyway, I bought this from the HobbyKing Australian warehouse. They had that, what was it, Purple Wednesday or Cyber something sale. Went for a whole week in which they discounted a whole range of products. Some really good prices. There were some real deals to be had there. When I saw this pop up with a really good discount, I thought, I'll get one of those, because I know there are people down the back there always complaining, where's the fixed wing reviews? Well, here they are, they're coming up. This is one of them anyway. So I hope you are suitably appeased, and now we should move on to other things. Right, I got some mail. Got some mail since the last Not So Weekly news, and one of the things I got was this. Look at that, isn't that stunning? This is an envelope. Well, it was an envelope, but by the time it got to me, it was wrapped in a plastic bag, and it really did look much the worse for wear. It's actually from, I can almost read the name, Mr. Luca Artelli of Slovenia, which is in Europa, apparently. At least that's what it says. Because the writing, it's all, it's all gone washed. So it's obviously been put through a washing machine, or it's been laying in a puddle for weeks. And amazingly, they could still read my address information on there, and the postal service, to their credit, delivered it to me and put it in a plastic bag to boot. So there we go, lovely envelope. Isn't that beautiful? I don't do unboxings or unenvelopings, so we'll just put that down. I'll show you what was in it. Calendar. Actually, it's an aviation calendar. I love aviation calendars. Really nice. It's for next year, 2015, and it starts with January. And in Slovenia, they don't have the letter Y, so it's Januar. See that? And what a shame they don't have a Y. Never mind. But it's a really nice calendar. It's got pictures of all sorts of full-size aviation in there. I love this. CAA used to send me a calendar. Every year I'd get a calendar. I guess I'm off the Christmas card list now, so this is a welcome replacement, and you'll see it on the wall behind me now. Of course, it did actually sit in the same puddle as the envelope, because the envelope wasn't waterproof, and so it is a little bit worse for wear, but I shall iron it. I shall put some tissue on it and give it an iron, try and get it nice and flat so that I can proudly put it on the wall behind me. And I thank you very much, Luca, was it? Oh, I hate getting old, you forget everything. Yes, thank you very much, Luca, for sending that. And thankfully, it made its way halfway around the world through a tropical rainstorm by the look of it, and reached me. Brilliant, thank you, mate. Now, something else that arrived was this. Ta-da, see that? It's not a calculator, it's not an e-book reader, it's not a smartphone, no, it is a set of scales. And these scales work. Actually, they really work, and they don't go round and round and round, change numbers like the old ones, like the scales from hell. These are real, bona fide, good scales. So I'll be using these quite a bit. And best feature of all, they're red, so they don't show the blood. That's very important in this workshop, I tell you. So yes, you'll be seeing a lot of these as I use them. I'm going to use them in the motor tests I'm doing to measure thrust. I've got a little test rigger set up, so these will actually measure the thrust of the motors, the electric motors that I'm going to be testing and comparing. What wonderful timing that was that this arrived. Brilliant, excellent. And now, of course, all the people who hate miniquads, you can now quietly go away and have a little cup of tea or something, or a coffee, or chat amongst yourselves, because I've got some miniquad stuff to cover. I'm sorry, but it has to be done because it's part of the hobby, emerging part of the hobby. People are loving it. I'm loving it, so got to cover it. And here we go. First up, what have I got? Well, here we go, somewhere in here. Looking at my list, actually. Motors. Yes, SunnySky have brought out a new motor. Ta-da! Actually, it's two of them, because they come with clockwise and counterclockwise threads, which means you've got much less chance of losing a prop by having it spin off. That's an excellent idea. It's very useful to have the clockwise, counterclockwise threads. So there we go. And this motor is the 2207 2100 kV, and that's actually quite a big motor. Most of the motors we're using on miniquads are 1806 or 2204. It's 2207, so it's got a lot more bell, which means more torque, which means more power. In fact, SunnySky say in their brochure 350 watts for this little baby. Yeah, 350 watts. That's on a quad 1.4 kilowatts of power. That's nearly 2 horsepower. Now, if you work it out, I mean, they're a little bit heavier than the regular motors, not that much heavier actually, quite light. So you're going to have a quad that may weigh 600 grams, and it's going to have 1400 watts of power. How much thrust is that? Well, I don't know. When I do the motor tests, we'll find out how much thrust this delivers on 4 cells and 3 cells with a variety of different props. But basically, I'm excited as hell about this because I'm going to be punching some holes in the sky I expect with this thing. So stay tuned. That motor shootout, as I mentioned, is coming up really quickly, really soon. I waited for this motor. I knew it was coming out and I knew it wasn't far away. So I thought, well, I don't want to do the shootout and then do this separately. So I waited till this came. This will be sitting there in the list of all the other motors. We'll compare them all and just see what you get for your money, because these are only about 15 bucks each. Honestly, what a deal. If they work as advertised, what a deal. That's brilliant. See if it goes. I'll keep you informed. Now the ZMR250, this frame, we all know about the ZMR250. I've been flying this one, hammering the hell out of it, to be honest. I mean, it has had so many impacts. It is really, I've tried to destroy it, and actually I have. I mean, I think, actually, after the weekend I brought it back, it had broken props, and I'd used up all my props that I took out, heaps of props, and it hammered into some steel work, and yeah, it was, thought, oh, okay, so I replaced the props, and then I noticed that it's developed what is becoming a bit of a problem with these ones around here anyway, and it's what I call soft arm syndrome. Soft arm. Now these, I mentioned I wasn't too chuffed about these arms in the past, these carbon fibre arms. They're too thin. They're too thin. They've got stress risers in them, and they're just not at all well designed. And it seems that after you've had a few impacts, and I'm talking about fairly hefty impacts, there must be some delamination going on inside the arms, because they're no longer torsionally strong as they used to be. You can twist them really easily. You see how much that prop's moving? I hope you can see that. The prop is really moving. This arm has gone soft. And I suspect what's happened is every time it's had a good whack, the layers of carbon have actually just sort of shifted a little bit, and the epoxy resin joining them together has broken. So inside here there are little, like tiny little bubbles of delamination, which has meant that when you twist the arm, the layers, instead of being locked together, are sliding over each other, and it makes it easy to twist. That manifests itself in a very worrying phenomenon, because what happens is the slightest amount of imbalance in your motor or your prop will cause this thing to shake like hell. At certain RPMs, you'll reach the resonance of the frame, and the whole thing will shake, and you'll get maybe 15 degrees of shake on the motor, and it vibrates. It's horrible, horrible, absolutely horrible. You could not fly it like that. And when I replaced the props on this one, whoa, 3 soft arms, damn. That's probably because of all the hammering over the weekend. So what I've done is I've got away with it. I've balanced the motors. I don't usually balance the motors because usually they're pretty close, but I've balanced the motors on this one. And so now I've only had to replace one of the arms. One of them was just so soft that even when I balanced the motor, it was still shaking like a whirling dervish. It was really terrible. So I have had to replace one of the arms, and I bought a whole frame, a whole spare frame for spares. And all the arms have been used now. Barry broke an arm, Roddy broke 2 arms, and I've got soft arm on this one. And the other quads that they're flying, they're also developing these soft arms after a lot of impacts with the ground. So if they just made the arms a bit damn thicker, stop penny pinching on that piece of carbon, if they just made some decent strong arms, this would be a brilliant quad. But I'm afraid I did express reservations about it. It flies nicely enough, and it's super cheap, but in the long term, if you're going to have to replace arms and you have to fart around balancing motors to stop the damn thing shaking apart, then it might be a bit of a false economy. You know, I mean, I have to say, on the weekend, I was flying this thing, and this is an expensive machine. I was flying this, I was loving it. It's grooving, it's brilliant. I got the nays tuned up. I had the, you know, the 20 amp controllers and the 4-cell battery. It just honks. You would not believe this. If you've seen the X-Hover channel, you've seen how these things can fly. And even though I'm in Team Nano, I was really pushing this thing around until a tree got in the way. And I didn't take any spare props. But I switched back to this thing, and honestly, you really do notice the difference in handling. Even at Team Nano standards, this just does not handle as well as the MXP230, and the arms are going soft. So this was my go-to quad for a while because it was cheap and I could break it. But I'm getting a little bit better now. My flying, I'm improving slowly, and I'm noticing that this is not as good a quad as either the Blackout, the MXP230, or the QAV250, and I'm still dialing in the mini member, and it seems to fly really nicely. So I'd probably say it doesn't fly as well as the mini member either. So it is, well, you get what you pay for, you know? I mean, if you just want an entry-level quad that, you know, you realize you're going to, you know, probably break it and bend arms and go soft, that's fine, you know. No one's going to criticize you for buying one of these. But if you really, once you get past that entry level and you want to really hammer something, these are just, they just don't seem to stand up to it. They don't. Maybe somebody, here's a business opportunity or an opportunity for someone, make some decent arms for these bloody things. You know, I mean, everyone seems to be able to get this carbon, this 3K carbon plate milled out to their specs. Just design an arm that's wider, stronger, doesn't have these stress risers, and is decent quality material. It could turn this thing around, it really could, because the frame took a major bang and it just put a chip in the corner, whacked into a pipe at high speed, and all it did was take a little chip out. So basically there's nothing wrong with the frame, it's just these bloody arms, useless damn things. Anyway, that's enough of me drizzling. I want to talk a bit more about this because on the weekend I flew it, and I'd put, because last time I used 12 amp speed controllers with the 4-cell pack, and one of them smoked, just that was the end. It was RC timer. I didn't really expect it would last that long, but RC timer was, it just blew, so I thought, well, damn it. I'm going to put the arms for 6-inch props on, and I'm going to put 20 amp speed controllers and run the 4-cell pack. And fired it up, hovered, ooh, great, punched it and went, flipped, just upside down, motor sync. And motor sync's basically when the speed controller can't keep up with the motor, or the motor is not providing the right signals back to the speed controller, and everything gets out of timing, and the motor stops producing any torque, and lack of thrust, the other side will flip it over. And it flipped that way one time, flipped the other way the other time. So it's not just a one-off, it's not a particular motor or controller, it's a problem with the combination of the HobbyKing Afro ESCs and these HL motors. And I thought, what am I going to do? I don't want to change all the damn motors or change the ESCs, because I know that if I'd put the RotorGeeks speed controllers on, I wouldn't have a problem, because I've seen them demonstrated, I'm testing them now, and they have brilliant motor sync capabilities. They drive just about anything, and there's none of the sync problems that I experienced here. The Afro is a really cheap speed controller. You've got to expect something like that. I did try reflashing the Afro to the latest SunnySky software, and it did improve things a little bit. I found that in a punch out, it would sometimes be okay, but sometimes it would still flip. It made it less likely, but it didn't stop it from losing sync. So I thought, well, why don't I just try reflashing these with the BLHeli software, which is just another speed controller software. So I did, got the BLHeli software, used the BLHeli suite, reflashed these ESCs, took it for a blat, and it was a lot better, but it still wasn't perfect. Every now and then it was losing sync, but unlike with the SunnySky software where it would fall out of the sky, it would recover sync and come back again. I could bring it back and do it. So I thought, now the BLHeli software has a lot of parameters you can change. With SunnySky, you just flash it in, that's it. That's whatever it's set to. That's what the guy sets it to. Unless you want to recompile it and fart around. BLHeli has a lovely little screen with little buttons you can click. You can change the motor timing, the damping effect, whether it does beaconing, all sorts of stuff like that. So I tweaked around, I increased the motor timing, I reduced the damping effect, and now this thing is solid as a damn rocket. It's a rocket ship and is no sign of motor sync issues. So I'm going to do a video on the BLHeli software because I just love it. It's brilliant. It's just completely changed the nature of this thing with these ESCs. So that'll be coming up soon. And I'm also going to do a bit of a broader coverage of firmware. That's the software that's built into these various things like speed controllers, flight controllers, OSDs, receivers, transmitters. They've all got firmware, and that's the name for software that's embedded into the hardware. I'm going to show you the theory behind flashing and what happens when you reflash something, what can go wrong, and if something goes wrong, how do you put it right, all those things, because we're going to be doing it more often as the technology evolves. So there you go. What else? Oh, I've got a video which, I've got a little packet of neodymium magnets, you know, the little super magnets that ran, and I've lost them, and it's really irritating me somewhat, because I've done a video on ESCs and brushless motors, how they work together, and how the whole, because it's an intricate, sort of interesting relationship. How does a brushless speed controller drive a brushless motor and whatever, and how do we get that with just 3 wires? Why do they have 3 wires? Why don't they work on DC? You have to have the speed controller on there. Anyway, I've done the video, but I did a little practical demonstration. I'm doing a practical demonstration to show one of the effects I'm talking about. It's much easier to see it if I show you a practical example. Damn it, I need the neodymium magnets, and I can't find them anywhere. And I can't understand for the life of me how I could have lost them, because as you can see, my bench is always immaculate. There's nothing could get lost on there. Yeah, right. So I will find them in the next few days. I'll finish that video for you. And that applies to fixed wing, multi-rotors, helicopters, the whole damn lot. So those people down the back that have almost gone to sleep because I was talking miniquads, well, there's something else for you. Some theory on how this stuff works. that's about it for this time. I've looked at my list. I've covered everything, I think. Just a quick comment. I posted that video about the situation with Model Flying New Zealand and CAA. I'm not going to say anything more about it in this video because I'm going to do a follow-up. A lot of people have asked some very interesting questions which need to be answered, such as, why don't you just go and fly somewhere else? That's a good question. I'll tell you why. And why not take up the offers you've had from the various large players in the aerospace industry to help you with the development of your sense and avoid system? And that's another very good question, and I want to answer that. And also, why don't you just crowdfund the purchase of the airfield? Again, a very good question. I'm going to deal to all those in another video because this is nothing to do with griping and grizzling. It's about the Not So Weekly news, and that's what you've just seen. So if you've got questions, comments, anything like that about the Not So Weekly news, put them in the bottom of underneath the video here in the space kindly provided by the wonderful people at YouTube, and I shall do my best to read them and answer them. In the meantime, because I'm not doing any flying legally, it's time for me to get back to the beach. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again very soon at RC Model Reviews.